Well, hello, everybody. It is Zach, the Dark Conservatarian, back with another Strike Force. So I'm getting more accurate to the time that I scheduled myself to actually go live, but it's still a few minutes late, but whatever. Anyway, so I would be remiss if I did not at least talk slightly about the whole Tommy Robinson arrest. Now, I know little to nothing about this whole circumstance, so I, of course, have some articles to talk about this. Two articles, actually, one from the Daily Caller and another from the Independent. Let me just pull WordPad over here if it will work out for me. Yeah, I don't have everything like fully set up, but yeah. So Tommy Robinson's arrest, Donald Trump canceling the peace summit with North Korea, and I got a few other side stories here as well, like a deported illegal alien, rapist, kidnapper, burglar, re-entering the U.S. and nabbed by border agents after he had tried to re-enter. And also a little thing from a guy named Cardinal Burke. Freedom of religion doesn't mean freedom to practice evil. That's the actual name of the article right there. And so I thought, I'm probably going to read that article more for responding to it rather than a piece of information to take in. But anyway, so on with the first subject. Hopefully I will have some people join me, like either Loudmouth or S-Man. I mean, the S-Man was in this hangout a little earlier before I was on air, but now it's for some reason he left, and he doesn't seem to, I don't know. He's not telling me as to whether he'll actually be back on or not. Hopefully he will. If not, we're going to be going solo again. Okay, let me pull up the chat again. All right. Getting on with the program. UK arrests Islam critic for reporting on grooming gang trial. Anti-Islam activist Tommy Robinson was arrested Friday outside of a British court hearing on a gang accused of forcing women into sex, prompting protests Saturday. Okay, so I actually saw some people tweeting about Tommy Robinson's arrest, like, glad that that piece of shit got arrested or something along those lines. And now I'm starting to see of why people would be against Tommy Robinson, because Islamophobia, supposedly. But I do not know of why somebody would be for him being arrested, at least in this circumstance, because he was just reporting on something that seems rather, yeah. It seems like he's reporting on a bunch of pimps. Robinson was live streaming on Facebook outside of a Leeds court when police arrested him for allegedly breaching the peace, according to the Independent. Okay, this might be the same article that they're referring to that I'm about to read here in a second, but we'll get to that in a minute. The Independent attempted to downplay Robinson's claim of reporting on the grooming gang trial by putting reporting in quotes. In quotes, huh? A video shows Robinson being whisked off by police as he demands to know the reason for his arrest. This is ridiculous. I haven't said a word. I've done nothing, he said. Robinson was sentenced to 13 months in jail for the crime, while the judge prohibited reporting of the verdict within the United Kingdom. No major British outlet reported on the sentence, and Breitbart redacted Robinson's name from its report on the case. Okay. According to the Independent, a contempt of court, so related article, UK embraces ISIS returnees, cracks down on right-wing journalists. According to the Independent, a contempt of court offense can be used to silence reporting on criminal procedures. Robinson was arrested while on a suspended sentence for a similar offense. In 2017, he was arrested and convicted of filming accused rapists as they headed into court. I don't see what is the issue with that. I mean, doesn't news agencies like do that all the time in court cases like this? I mean, yeah, it just seems that the UK is just cracking down on, yeah, freedom of the press is what they are reporting on. The judge in that case claimed it was not about freedom of the press. Bullshit, it wasn't. Nor about legitimate journalism, and not about political correctness. Yeah, then what is it about? but about preserving the integrity of the jury to continue without people being intimidated or being affected by irresponsible and inaccurate reporting. Oh, God. Okay. Granted, inaccuracy in your reporting and lying, nobody should condone that. But at the same time, when it comes to freedom of speech, you will never know of what speech is the true information that's being espoused or not. I mean, until you actually hear out the person's opinion on the issue, which is then the moments that you would have to attack the person with your own speech about how they're essentially espousing bullshit. Robinson's supporters claim that he possibly could be murdered in jail due to his marked reputation among Muslim prisoners. The man who founded the English Defense League was assaulted by Muslim inmates during a previous stint in jail in 2014. A large demonstration took place Saturday in London demanding Robinson's release. Now, I do not, yeah. I mean, I'm not seeing anything like highly controversial that I could disagree with Tommy Robinson about. I mean, he's got kind of that alt-right Hitler Youth haircut type look going on. So, I mean, that's kind of assumptuous for me to be saying that. But who knows? Maybe the guy is a fan of Richard Spencer or not. I do not know for certain. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's silly for me to even be making an ignorant observation like that. But maybe the independent the more some of how controversies surrounding Tommy Robinson supposedly. So they were arrested for supposed intimidation in his reporting. That doesn't make any sense. So if that is the case, then I guess under your logic, lying or suspected lying does not fall under freedom of speech. So you'll have to like arrest every liar out there in not only the news media, but also in the average day-to-day life report or arrest them as well. Well, every organ. Oh, okay. I can. Damn it. Come on. Internet. I think I need to just get myself an IT tech over my then. I mean, I updated my internet information on my internet account, and I put my internet hub on a higher position so that for my internet router, my wireless internet, pick up on the signal from the internet hub, but apparently that's still not working good enough. So anyway. Tommy Robinson, this from The Independent. Tommy Robinson arrested for breaching the peace outside court during grooming trial. I haven't said a word. I've done nothing. Far-right figurehead pleads as officers. Far-right figurehead. This guy is a far-right figurehead. Figureheads. I think of mainly Jared Taylor and Richard Spencer. Like, I don't know. Tommy Robinson has been arrested for allegedly at a court during an far-right activist showed Leeds Crown Court in a live stream on Facebook where he claimed to be reporting on the case. What do I mean claimed to be reporting? If you did not see him doing anything else, anything ordinary like soliciting drugs or something, or just clogging up space and protesting or anything like that. Anything completely opposite of reporting, unless you see him actually doing something that's not reporting, why do you put it in quotations and say that he only claimed to be reporting? I mean, as far as I'm seeing right here, that's actually what he was actually doing, was reporting. After more than an hour of broadcasting, police officers approaching to arrest him for alleged breach of the peace and incitement. Incitement? What do you mean incitement? Do you have any quotes of him inciting violence or inciting something else or another? Brandon Paget is in the chat saying, "Yay, I love cuck force." What do you mean by cuck force, Brandon? And how are you doing? Can you get me a solicitor? He asked his supporters while being searched and bundled into a police van. This is ridiculous. I haven't said a word. I've done nothing. Brandon Paget says, "Just kidding." Okay. So he says that he hasn't said a word. So far, I'm not seeing anything opposite of whether or not he actually said anything. So if he did not say anything at all, then obviously they're writing of anything going on. I mean, you'd have to speak in order to incite violence or incite rape or some other heinous act. Brandon Paget says, "Busy outside the internet." That's cool. Wait, did it just switch articles or something? No, never mind. I think it was trying to show an ad up in my face. So, so far, the claim against Tommy Robinson, I don't think it is the Independent that is accusing Tommy Robinson of supposed breach of the peace and incitement, but the people in the UK government that are actually charging him for this. It seems like bullshit so far. Can you get me a solicitor? He asked, or I already read that paragraph. Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Lennon, or Stephen Lennon, however it's appropriately pronounced, had claimed that verdicts were due on Friday, but court officials confirmed that the trial of 9 defendants is ongoing. This isn't contempt of court. This isn't contempt of court, he asked during the broadcast. You are allowed to do this, aren't you? Contempt of court is a criminal offense that can see people jailed for speeches or publications that create a substantial risk that the court of justice in the proceedings in question will be seriously impeded or prejudiced. Substantial risk that the court of justice. Okay, what substantial risk? What speech is he preaching in order to provide a substantial risk? Like, do you have any quotes or any video or anything of him actually saying something heinous, of him making threats, of him calling violence or anything like that? I'm seeing nothing of the like so far. I mean, if you were arresting him for being suspicious of the possibility that maybe he would have incited violence or something like that, well, you cannot read the guy's mind. You're not a bunch of psychics, UK police. So, sorry, that is not a legitimate reason to be arresting him. Robinson is already under a suspended sentence for committing a contempt of court over a gang rape case heard in Canterbury last year. Wait, what? Contempt of court over a gang rape case heard in Canterbury. Explain that, please. I mean, okay, I'm not a lawyer, honestly, and I do not know what exactly contempt of court would mean, but I don't know. I'm going to try to remain open-minded regarding that. Judge Heather Norton handed him a 3 months imprisonment in May last year, but suspended it for 18 months on the condition he did not commit further offenses. And what was the offense for in this case when he was reporting on the Muslim gang that was doing, I don't know, I can't remember what exactly it was. It was sex trafficking or something. This is not about free speech, not about the freedom of the press, nor about legitimate, about political correctness, the judge told Robinson at the time. Bullshit. It is about justice and ensuring that a trial can be carried out justly and fairly. It's about being innocent until proven guilty. Wait, what? how was Tommy Robinson having any bearing on that? Because of his reporting practices or something? I mean, as far as I know, that's like covered under freedom of speech. People can be opinionated and people can like deal out misinformation or even lies, as far as I know, as far as I'm concerned, all that they want, because that covers free speech, just like supposed hate speech is covered under free speech as well. I mean, unless people are actually making calls to violence, which that's a little bit more of a gray area, and I think that maybe a person can make the case that death threats should be in that people should be punished for that. Maybe. It is about preserving the integrity of the jury to continue without people being intimidated or being affected by irresponsible and inaccurate reporting, if that's what it was. Okay. If that's the case, then you'll have to like shut down most, if not all, news media outlets for inaccurate reporting, because is there really any news organization out there that hasn't been accused of inaccurate reporting and irresponsible reporting? Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, all the rest of them. I mean, people even have suspensions of how the BBC was doing inaccurate reporting about 9/11 back during 2001. So should BBC be shut down? Robinson formerly broadcast his activities on Twitter as well as Facebook, but was permanently banned from the platform earlier this year. He co-founded the English Defense League, EDL, in 2009 and has been arrested numerous times during demonstrations and at fights between football fans, as well as being jailed for mortgage fraud in 2014. Okay, well, that's that, and that's then. We are talking about the here and now for why he was arrested right now, and just for him reporting on on some Muslim gang sex trafficking or something along those lines. That is not a legitimate reason to be arresting him. I mean, sure, yes, fights between other football fans, that's legitimate. But again, that's then, this is now. And mortgage fraud as well. I forgot to mention that. After claiming to have made friends with Muslim prisoners during his time inside, he attempted to found a British branch of the German anti-Islam group Pegida, however you pronounce that, Pegida, however it's pronounced, in 2015. He later became a correspondent for Canadian right-wing website Rebel Media, and his posts and emails during the period radicalized the Finsbury Park attacker Darren Osborne. So what? Robinson has since started his own site and has been working closely with members of the ethno-nationalist Generation Identity movement, whose leaders have been prevented from entering the UK. Okay. End article. And that's all that I have to say about Tommy Robinson. Like, it's ridiculous how this guy is being arrested for all this. I mean, arrested around the time of him reporting and arrested for supposed inaccurate or irresponsible reporting. I mean, yeah, if he was committing mortgage fraud or anything like that, well, then by all means, arrest him for that, but not for supposed irresponsible or inaccurate reporting. All right. All right. So the next that I had regarding the news was we're going to now be segueing into talking about which is a UK news outlet. Oh, shit. Do not lose connection. I mean, come on. Will you get your act together, internet? The Jong goodbye. Very, very punny there. Donald Trump can't be a peace summit, but he looks forward to meeting him someday, quote unquote. The White House released a letter to the North Korean plan not take place. Well, that's kind of a bummer, Trump. Why are you calling that off? I mean, you're kind of screwing up the possibility of peace with North Korea, it seems. Seems to me, at least. From his meeting with Kim Jong-un, but says he looks forward to meeting someday. The letter to the North Korean leader saying the summit planned for Singapore will not take place. Donald Trump, canceled his Singapore. In personal letter from the president to the chairman of the communist state, Trump said he would not be going ahead with the meeting. Trump wrote, "We greatly appreciate your time." I'm not seeing any evidence so far. Yeah. Hello, Loudmouth?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. I hear you.
All right, cool.
I can hear you now.
All right.
Yeah, sorry about that. How's it going? Well, I just got past old Tommy Robinson conviction, and
yeah, apparently he gets convicted for a year in prison after what was it, 3 days or something like that, almost immediately.
Yeah, I mean, I read that there was he has somewhat of a criminal past of committing mortgage fraud, supposedly, and also having fights with football fans. But
well, that is typical British behavior. The last one,
right? I mean, but my take on that is that was then, British, and this is now.
Hold on. If the British arrested everyone who had a fight over a football game, all right, their entire population would be behind bars right now.
Do you have a cold?
What?
I don't know. It sounds like you either have eating lunch or something.
No, well, I'm actually I biked on over to my parents' house, and it's pretty hot, and they live like 15 miles away. So I did it so I could get some exercise. So right now I'm actually over their house in their basement. So it's a little different environment than usual. I'm probably not going to talk long because eventually I got to head back after dinner.
I see. All right.
Yeah. My folks got a pool. So on a hot summer day, it's very nice.
Yep. So now I'm getting into how Trump is calling off the peace summit with North Korea, and I think he's doing a very stupid move right now. I mean, what do you think about that?
He's calling off the peace summit. Yeah, I think I heard about that. Well, that's the thing about Trump. He always pouts his feet when he doesn't get his way on anything. He doesn't understand. He doesn't understand the art of the deal, you could say. Yeah, I hope everyone out there got that joke, but yeah. Hello?
So
I can barely hear you. You're breaking up.
We were don't know how to fix that. I think I just need to get a techie over to my house to look at my internet hub or something.
Maybe
because I changed my. Perhaps, although I do think that's somewhat me because I've already cut out my live stream, already cut out twice this whole stream. This just kind of sucks, actually. Anyway,
Yeah.
we were informed that the meeting was requested by North Korea, but that to us is totally irrelevant. Looking forward to being there with you. Sadly, based on the tremendous anger and open hostility displayed in your recent statement, I feel it is inappropriate at this time to have this long-planned meeting. Yeah, this is the letter that Trump wrote to North Korea. Most recent statement.
Weren't there people saying that
you heard?
Weren't there people saying that he should
What?
get the Nobel Peace Prize for this, and now he's blowing it off? What the fuck? The world we live in today, it's actually amazing. What was it, Brianna Wu, when she's running for Congress, who's running for Congress, by the way, so, she tweeted something about how Trump might be building giant robots to hunt minorities. You know what? Of course it's probably true. Who wouldn't believe something like that? Hello? Hello?
I hope the stream your commentary at least because I cut out for a moment there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
if you can hear me,
I heard
either. Yeah,
I couldn't hear you there for a second. I can hear you right now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I was just kind of making a joke.
The South Korea. The South Korean leader Moon Jae-in actually did say that Trump supposedly deserved the Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, if peace was to happen, but seems like Trump is blowing it for himself. And oh my God, Kim Jong-un's hair.
Yeah, to be fair to Trump, honestly, I'd never really trusted Kim Jong-un to begin with.
I guess not. I mean, this month actually, Kim Jong-un was actually tempted to almost call off the peace summit himself, or the peace talks, because of the fact that South Korea was harboring a North Korean defector. Excuse me. So I mean, it wasn't just Trump first. I mean, I think that might be the comments that he's referring to. Yeah. In your most recent statement, I feel it is inappropriate at this time to have this long planned meeting, Trump is saying to Kim. And I guess that's what he's referring to, is how Kim was almost wanting to call off the peace talks himself because of the North Korean defector being harbored by South Korea. Trump may be referring to a verbal broadside launched against his VP, Korean vice foreign minister, in which he was branded ignorant and stupid. Or maybe it's that. I guess so. Oops. The Donald went on to say that someday I look very much forward to meeting you. In the letter addressed to His Excellency Kim Jong-un, Trump also made reference to the U.S. powerful nuclear weapons, as he always is. My buttons, Kim. He added, therefore, what? Was he about to say something, Loudmouth?
No, I didn't say anything.
Okay, never mind. I was hearing some background noise, I guess. He added, therefore, please let this letter serve to represent the sitting up for the good of both parties, but to the detriment of the world will not take place. For the good, to the detriment of the world. Yeah, I don't know how to break that down.
Yeah, I've been working on a video lately, kind of talking about all these recent channel deletions and what I think it all means. Yeah.
That it might mean the eventual shutdown of YouTube entirely as a website?
No, not that, but I'm talking about the dangerous situation we've got ourselves in, where a single company pretty much has a total monopoly on online video sharing. Just kind of how dangerous that is.
I feel like I should like minimize or because there's some rather unflattering side articles here in the Sun.
Oh yeah, let me read them right now. Take a look at these hilarious swimwear fails. Meghan Markle is moving to the palace. See her former home. Do you come from royal blood?
Well, it's mainly that.
You.
All right. Your nuclear capabilities, but ours are so massive and powerful that I pray to God that they will never be used. Earlier this week, Trump has just said substantial chance next month's meeting would not go ahead. Yeah, I mean, especially since both you and Kim are endangering these talks by threatening to cancel them off. Meeting with South Korean President Moon Jae-in in the Oval Office.
Hello? Got off there. I don't know. Oh, looks like yeah, it's gone silent. I don't know.
Well, we're still alive. Apparently, Loudmouth, he left because I can't get my internet together. Just work with me, internet. Okay. Choson Hui slammed U.S. Vice President Mike Pence as ignorant and stupid after he compared the country to Libya. Well, you guys are kind of in the same field just a little bit with how poor you guys are, how crappy your economies are, and not having the best of human rights and so on and so forth. According to a report by North Korea's central news agency, she said, "We will neither beg the U.S. for dialogue nor take the trouble to persuade them if they do not want us." She added, "I cannot suppress my surprise." Testing. Crap. Please stay connected. Chairman, we greatly appreciate your time, patience, and effort with respect to our recent negotiations and discussions relative to a summit's long parties, which was scheduled to take place on June 12th in Singapore. We were informed that the meeting was requested by North Korea, but that to us is totally irrelevant. I was very much looking forward to being there with you. Sadly, based on the tremendous anger and open hostility displayed in your most, it is inappropriate at this time to have this long planned meeting. Therefore, please let this letter serve to represent that the Singapore summit for the good of both parties, but to the detriment of the world, will not take place. You talk about your nuclear capabilities, but ours are so massive and powerful that I pray to God they use. I felt a wonderful dialogue was building up between you and me, and ultimately it is only dialogue that matters. Someday I look forward very much to meeting you. In the meantime, I want TOS, what? Oh, I want to, that's a typo right there. I want to thank you for the release of the hostages who are home with their families. What is with this letter? I mean, it's missing some of the typing right here. Never mind, screw it. I'm not going to read the rest of that. Okay. So actually, that's the end of the article. Yeah. I mean, North Korea, Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump, they're both being bumbling idiots, I think, and endangering peace talks between the nations. And hopefully the peace talks will eventually happen, and we will not ultimately an all-out war between us and North Korea. Getting shirty, but can you see why? Maybe it's because of how the shirt accentuates her boobs. I mean, it does it inappropriate, and I'm up right there. It just seems inappropriate. That's all. I'll just leave it at that. To the guys, let me put it that way, at least. All right. Trump praises warm and productive statement from, this is from cnsnews.com. I think this is actually, yeah, this is like right after of when that Sun article that we just read was released. So here we go. Far from having a giggle fit, as Representative Nancy Pelosi said about Kim Jong-un, the North Korean dictator has a conciliatory tone in reacting to the U.S. cancellation of the June 12th summit. The North Korean Foreign Ministry, ending with the line, we would like to make known to the U.S. so that we have the intent to sit with the U.S. side problems regardless of ways at any time. Let me read that again, because that did not make any sense to me. That statement didn't. We would like to mention that we have the intent to sit to regardless of ways at any time. Regardless of ways? You mean regardless of methods? Is that what you meant? It just seemed like a weird way of wording that. In other words, the North Koreans say they are still willing to meet. We're talking to them now, President Trump told reporters this morning. We'll see what happens. The president also noted with a smile that games. Okay. Well, not everybody. I mean, I don't think Owen McDonald does. I mean, he seems like he doesn't have a fun day in his life, nor does Sahil, the progressive voice. Earlier, reacting to the statement issued by North Korea's vice foreign excuse me, sorry. Earlier, reacting to the statement issued by North Korea, Kai Guan, President Trump called it very good news. Very good news to receive the warm and productive statement from North Korea. The president tweeted shortly after 8 a.m. Friday, "We will soon see where it will lead, hopefully to long and enduring prosperity and peace. Only time and talent will tell." The statement from North Korea was milder than the harsh criticism expressed 2 days ago. The statement said Trump's sudden and unilateral announcement to cancel the summit is something unexpected to us, and we cannot but feel great regret for it. You feeling regretful now after he tries and cancel the summit? I mean, you should have tried to push forward for the peace talks instead of just letting Trump cancel them. It is hard to guess the reasons. It could be that he lacked the will for the summit, or for our part, we have exerted sincere efforts, since we even inwardly hoped that sure convinced of that if you're going to about the fact you guys have very hope I'm not losing connection. Oh, I was down at this paragraph. All right. The Trump formula is an apparent reference to U.S. calls for complete and verifiable denuclearization. The statement said North Korea remains unchanged in our goal and will do everything we can for the Korean Peninsula and humankind. And we broad-minded and open all of this to offer the U.S. side time and opportunity. The U.S. time and opportunity. Why are you calling it the U.S. side? Just call it the U.S. Like it's a little bit confusing in your speech. Side, supposedly, and would not resolve all, but a phased way would make the relationship or ponder over it. We would like to side the U.S. once again that we have the intent to sit with the U.S. to solve problems regardless of ways at any time. Dems have lost touch. Today, President Trump said Democrats are so obviously rooting against us in our negotiations with North Korea. It would seem like that, wouldn't it? I mean, it seems that establishment is optimistic about this. 33 unedited World War II. That guy, like, in the engine of that plane. It's weird. Just like there's thugs saying that they are individuals and must be nurtured, or asking to end your big tax cuts and raise your taxes. Trump may have been referring to House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, who told a news conference because he wasn't properly prepared. She said that Kim looked good. I mean, Mr. Trump, you had the opportunity to go letting North Korea be the first one cancel the peace summit, because for a moment there, for a while, it seemed like North Korea was going to cancel the peace talks before you were going to cancel the peace talks. I mean, since they were getting all pissy about South Korea letting a North Korea defector speak in front of the public, blew it. You done fucked it up, Trump. As a good old Angry Joe would say, you done fucked it up. I think it's a good thing for Kim Jong-un. Here you have a thug, a person who killed his own family members, a person who runs a police state being legitimized by the President of the United States. I do not know of any cases where Kim Jong-un killed his own family members, but I think I do know for certain that it was his own grandfather I think it was his grandfather, who definitely did kill his own family member to try and gain power. Was it his uncle? I mean, that Kim Jong-un Sr., or whatever the grandpa's name is. I know that Kim Jong-il came before Kim Jong-un, but I don't know the name of who came before Kim Jong-il. They were on par. He got global recognition and regard. He's the big winner. This letter from the president saying, okay, never mind. He must be having a giggle fit right there now in North Korea, in Pyongyang. Various Democrats on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee also criticized the Trump administration on Thursday, including Senator Bob Menendez, Democrat of New Jersey. The art of diplomacy is a lot harder than the art of the deal, Menendez told Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. And while we applaud the robust diplomatic efforts to try to denuclearize the Korean Peninsula, yeah, the denuclearization is a sham, like I said before. Many of us were deeply concerned that the lack of deep preparation that is necessary before such a summit is even agreed to was not taking place. And now we see the consequences of that. And I'm not sure that constantly quoting the Libya model is a diplomatic way to try to get to the results that we seek in North Korea, because that didn't work out too well for Gaddafi, Menendez said. Yeah, there is quite a big grain of truth to that, saying that, referring to the Libya model, like the same method of handling North Korea being the same method that Obama handled Libya. That's not a very good idea, because you're talking about toppling over Kim Jong-un as leader and maybe even killing him, like what happened with Gaddafi. Pompeo told the committee that in his face-to-face meetings with Kim Jong-un, Pompeo made it clear that the United States was asking for complete and verifiable denuclearization. You want complete and verifiable denuclearization? How about you ask Kim Jong-un, hey, are you going to turn in all of your nuclear missiles? Which she clarified that he was not going to do, or at least the North Korean government, maybe not Kim Jong-un himself, but the North Korean government was reassuring they weren't giving up their entire nuclear arsenal, that they were just going to, in fact, freeze their nuclear testing. That was all that they were going to do. So it wasn't complete and verifiable denuclearization. It was like more like a nuclear freeze, what they were going to do, in exchange for the assurances that he in return asked for. And so I think we were having a real conversation where there was real understanding between the two of us. It's what caused me to recommend to the president that I thought the time would, in fact, permit us to have a real opportunity to do something historic. I'm still optimistic that we will reach the point. I know the president is as well. End article. Reading the Sun article right there that was kind of looking at the peace talks in a rather negative light by making it seem as if things were looking bleak about the peace talks. And then reading this article, it makes me just a little bit more hopeful, just a little bit more. I mean, since Kim Jong-un seems to be taking in Trump's words rather smoothly, rather calmly, at least. Okay, getting on to the next article, hopefully. Oh, excuse me. So, Conservatarian Coyote says in the chat, he said in the chat about 30 minutes ago almost, I heard pineapple makes your semen taste better. That is fucking nasty, Conservatarian Coyote. I'm not going to lie. All right. We'll get on to this in a second. And so that my internet disconnected there to the point that you got kicked out or whatever happened to you. I don't know. Actually, one second. I want to see what is going on with Twitter. Apparently not refreshed, but I'm not going to screw with that. All right, this is from CNSnews.com. Deported illegal alien rapist Kidnapper, and Burglar Reenters U.S. nabbed by border agents. And with full justification too. Rapist, Kidnapper, Burglar. This sounds like a pretty heinous individual right here. Or butts. I mean, especially the raping part. Border Patrol agents patrolling the area of San Luis, Arizona, arrested a Mexican national with previous felony convictions, kidnapping and first-degree burglary. Customs and Border Patrol (CBP) announced Friday. Hello, man.
Hey.
For a while there, so I was trying to ask if you were going to be able to make it back on.
Oh.
Why'd you end up leaving?
I had someone come to the door. I'll be right back.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to mirror so I don't have to hear his background noise. All right. Yuma Station. Okay. Yuma Station. Approximately 4:34 p.m. on Thursday, after he illegally entered the United States San Luis, or I think it's St. Louis port of entry. During processing, agents identified the 50-year-old male from Mexico as Dionisio Torres Salazar, who has felony convictions of first-degree rape, second-degree kidnapping, and first-degree burglary out of La Grande, Oregon in 1993. He was previously removed from the United States through the Del Rio, Texas port of entry in September. Further questioning, Salazar was traveling to San Luis, Arizona. Okay. That's a rather short article and kind of a bit boring, but still, I mean, I saw the title of it and I thought, hey, it's interesting. And now, the interesting is yet to come. I mean, I think atheist.
You're lagging pretty bad.
I am. Can you hear me at least smoothly?
Right now I can, but you do lag pretty bad in a few areas. So, all right.
Well,
so,
I got the bandwidth down to very low.
All right. Maybe it was not a good idea to upgrade to that new thing. I don't know. For
Windows
computer.
10?
Yeah. Or something. I guess if I were you, I'd just do like a rummage through the whole thing, but I could read this for you just to, I don't know. When asked about the kingship of Jesus Christ and how it shapes religious freedom, United States
Cardinal... to read the title.
You bastard. Cardinal Burke, freedom of religion doesn't mean freedom to practice evil. When asked about the kingship of Jesus Christ and how it shapes religious freedom, U.S. Cardinal Raymond Leo Burke said that freedom of religion does not mean freedom to practice what is false, or don't move it again, hang on, or which contradicts the law of God. And this specifically would apply, for instance, to a religion that would permit the killings of infants, unquotes, by abortion, or a so-called faith that is practiced by any intrinsic evil. Cardinal Burke, who serves on the highest court in the Vatican, the I can't speak English today. Apostolic, there we go. And is the former Archbishop of Signatura. I'm very white today. I can't pronounce shit. And is the former Archbishop of St. Louis, Missouri. Made his remarks during a Q&A session at the Rome Life Forum on May 21st, reported by LifeSiteNews.com. An attendee asked the cardinal.
I gotta. All right. I want you to stop right there. I mean, the first paragraph is quite the red flag. I mean, yeah. And definitely to you. I mean, it's saying that freedom of religion does not mean that it's false. Like, what is false in the view of Christians? What is false would be any other religion that pretty much is not Christian, or even in the case of Catholics, anything that is not Catholic, which I would refer to other denominations of Christianity.
Yeah.
And to Islam, it would be any religion that's not Islam. I mean, it's basically like an implication of, I'm getting the take away your freedom of religion. I mean, it just seems a contradictory statement to say you have a freedom of religion that you can practice what is false, what I view to be false.
Yeah, and it does come from a place of subjectivity there, and also, obviously, freedom of religion doesn't mean you can practice evil. I think that is very true. However, and I would define it like this: if there's anything in religion, like your freedom of religion, I think you're free to practice it so long as it does not violate another person's rights. So if you're like a radical Muslim or a hardcore Christian and you want to chuck some gay person off of the rooftop of a building or burn them alive or what have you,
or picket their funeral.
Yeah, like to me at that point, it's like I don't think your religious freedoms should be respected. At least, I'm not saying the government shouldn't respect it. I'm saying the people. Like, if my best friend, he's trans, if he died and a bunch of hardcore Christians were picketing his funeral, I'd probably just start throwing eggs at them because that's how S-Man rolls. Everybody. Also,
fuck yeah,
you're damn right, motherfucker. That should be my unofficial slogan for my channel. Anyhow, or if people were making anti-Christian or anti-Muslim or what have you, like if you were dead and I was at your funeral and a bunch of people were saying, "Oh fuck Christianity," and we're like picketing your funeral, I'd probably throw eggs at them. They'd be hard-boiled, but anyway, the same goes for everyone else. As long as they're a good person when they died, then sure.
I mean, either you could have hard-boiled and have the harder hitting eggs, or you could have them not hard-boiled and just running and make more of a mess of their clothes. I mean, take your pick.
That's a hard one. You want them to suffer, but you also want their clothes to be fucked up. Why can't science be more sadistic? But yeah, an attendee asked the Cardinal, does the doctrine of the social kingship of Christ entail limits on religious freedom? That is, if the society recognizes the kingship of Christ, does that not follow that certain expressions of false religion can and should be suppressed for the preservation of the common good?
Were you able to understand that statement? I mean, it seemed kind of stifled wording
of the statement itself. Wait, could you scroll up a little bit, or did I read the last paragraph there?
No, you were reading that paragraph. I mean, the paragraph before that, you had already read it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let me reread that myself. An attendee asked the Cardinal, does the doctrine of the social kingship of Christ entail limits on religious freedom? That is, if the society recognizes the kingship of Christ, does that not follow that certain expressions of false religion can and should be suppressed for the preservation of the common good? The common good. That sounds very collectivist and rather, I mean, it's implying like it's being Christian-centric, that anything non-Christian should be suppressed.
Yeah.
It's BS. Hey, Mr. Burke, you're making Christians look bad. Shut the fuck up. STFU. Okay. Cardinal Burke said, freedom of religion does not mean the freedom to practice a religion which is false or a religion which contradicts the law of God. Holy shit. That is exactly what freedom of religion means, you dolt. That people can practice a religion even if it contradicts the law of God or is a false religion.
Yeah.
Holy crap. I think I just lost a few brain cells reading that last statement.
There's a lot of shit that's going to kill our brain cells in this lifetime.
Okay. You take the wheel, S-Man. I cannot read anymore. I need my brain to recover after that last statement.
All right. A religion which would permit the killing of infants or allow any other kind of intrinsic evil should not be free to practice. And this is why the reality of the kingship of Christ is so important, said the cardinal. I mean, I would say that in terms of like IRL, like, you know, if there's a Bible verse saying kill your infant for some weird, shitty reason, of course, limiting someone's religious freedom to prevent them from killing somebody, I can see. To be completely honest with you guys, I do see where that person would come from.
Right.
But
I mean, this is where that rights kind of come in conflict with each other, like
yeah.
freedom of religion versus right to life.
Let's see. The kingship of Christ defines the freedom of religion in a way which can avoid all the manifestations of false religions, said Cardinal Burke, as reported by LifeSiteNews.com.
The kingship of Christ sounds almost cult-like.
Yeah, that's why if I were a Christian, I'd be really salty at whoever the bastard was that keeps writing the kingship of Christ. It makes them sound like a cultish following, I swear.
I mean, especially with the way that they're defining freedom of religion. It's a rather crackpot way of defining freedom of religion. I mean, it's not freedom of religion the way that they're defining freedom of religion. They don't know the meaning of freedom of religion.
All right, now the next paragraph. The news outlet further reported the individual Catholics must consciously place themselves under the kingship of Christ in the face of enemies of the church today, attempting to infiltrate the life of the church herself. That's transphobic. They're not taking into account the non-binaries. Anyway, the church herself had to corrupt the bride of Christ by an apostasy from the apostolic faith, said the cardinal.
I don't know how to make out that statement, but maybe it's because of how this guy is burning my brain cells with his stupidity.
Yeah. All right. The kingship of Christ essentially means that Jesus Christ, God himself, has supreme and absolute dominion over all things created, as Pope. I'm terrible with
It's
Roman
probably
numeral.
pronounced Pius.
Pius,
Pope Pius the 11th.
The 11th, right?
Yeah, X means 10, V means 5.
Pope Pius the 11th wrote, "There is no difference in this matter between the individual and the family or the state." Oh God, the ANCAPs would be all over that. They'd be calling him a statist. For all men, whether collectively or individually, are under the dominion of Christ. In him is the salvation of the individual. In him is the salvation of society.
This definitely sounds like a rather collectivist statement. There is no difference in this matter between the individual and the family or the state. We are all one. But the thing is, with a person's salvation, it is between them and God alone. Like, there is no third party. Like, yeah, a third party can, like, help you, maybe tutor you, but ultimately your own salvation and your relationship with God is just between yourself and he himself. And by the way, Pope Pius, that is like a very suiting name for a guy who is so pious, by the way. See what I did there?
But, yeah.
Further, as Pope Leo XIII wrote, truly the whole of mankind is subject to the power of Jesus Christ. Well, subject to the power of Jesus Christ, not legally, at least. I mean, the way that you are preaching your dogma right here, it seems like it has some legal implications, what you're saying, of how freedom of religion does not cover freedom of religion, basically. So this was actually the last article. You kind of came in late to the program, but I was honestly having a whole lot of internet connections right before this. I don't know. Maybe I should. You know what? Screw it. I'll go on for this next article right here.
All right.
It's titled "A Market-Based Plan for Affordable Prescription Drugs." This is actually an article from Avik Roy, who is a writer for Forbes magazine. Evil magazine. How dare you hire Dan Spinelli? You all are uncredible liars. Bah! That's me acting like Andy Worski there.
Yeah.
I hope that you all get shut down for this one amateur lying blogger.
That I'm not gonna lie, was fucking hilarious just seeing you lose your shit at him. Like, I was like, holy fucking shit, Zach. I never heard you that pissed off. The most pissed off I was in was
so Abercrombie's
okay.
courts.
Yeah, that video. I don't regret it. Anyway, the article here is a market-based plan for affordable prescription drugs. The key to lower costs for patients is to remove federal barriers to pharmaceutical competition. And I have that same attitude towards the healthcare system, healthcare itself, and other things. Anyhow.
Okay. Abercrombie is actually not writing on Forbes this time. He's actually reporting on Free Op. I can't remember what the acronym is for that, what it all stands for, but anyway. So I'll read it for a little bit. The below is adapted from FreeOp's new monograph, The Competition Prescription, a market-based plan for making innovative medicines affordable. A PDF version can be found here. Excuse me.
One of the most
pressing problems facing the United States is the high cost of American health care. Tens of millions of Americans lack health insurance due to the high cost of coverage. Far more have seen their disposable income stagnate due to inexorably rising healthcare costs. Excuse me, as I stumble on my words. Further still, growth in public healthcare spending is by far the biggest driver of America's unsustainable budget deficit and federal debt. A problem that starves other public programs of needed resources and presents an increasing burden on lower middle income taxpayers. Prescription drugs comprise the third largest component of U.S. national health expenditures, behind only hospital care and physician and clinical services, according to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. According to the Quintiles IMS Institute, invoiced sales of prescription drugs amounted to $450 billion in 2016, representing 13.4% of all U.S. health spending. Okay. And you see United States on the top there. Japan is like second place. This is annual per capita drug spending of 2014. I hear that Australia is supposedly cheaper when it comes to pharmaceutical. I wonder where they fit. They are like just behind. Actually, they are not too much cheaper than, well, okay, they're like a considerable over $600 less than us, but still, I mean, there's still a whole bunch of other countries that have cheaper pharmaceuticals, it seems. As shown in Figure 2, prices for prescription drugs in the U.S., like prices for other healthcare goods and services, are far higher in the U.S. than they are in other industrialized countries. In 2014, on an invoice price basis, the U.S. spent $1,327 per capita on prescription drugs in non-U.S. members of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Median per capita drug spending was $489, approximately one-third that of the U.S. Here, I'm just going to see for a second of how long this article is.
All right.
Because I know that Avik Roy can get kind of wordy with his articles. Yeah. I mean, he likes to go in depth. I mean, he's one of my favorite news writers, in all honesty. Yeah, it looks like that he has quite a lot to say, so I do not know how far we'll go along with this.
Maybe we could sum up.
Anybody who feels interested in reading this can go ahead and check it out for themselves.
Yeah, sum it up or something like that. That's what I would do.
Maybe I ought to do a Strike Force editorial of this article or something.
Probably.
So, high pharmaceutical prices have received disproportionate attention in the U.S. because the pharmaceutical industry is for-profit, whereas much of the hospital and insurance industries are comprised of nonprofit institutes. Many of the political left believe that profit-seeking has no place in healthcare. However, many on the political right who believe in the value of for-profit entities have ignored the high cost of prescription drugs for the opposite reason. drug prices continue to grow at rates exceeding inflation and economic growth due to a policy deadlock between progressives and conservatives about the desirability of further government intervention in the pharmaceutical sector. Both sides have concluded that the only way to reduce prescription drug prices is through price controls. Republican opposition to Democratic proposals for price regulation has maintained the status quo. Yeah, I mean, it's not like Republicans have always, I mean, I don't think they still are, these big-time anti-regulatory politicians when it comes to healthcare. Actually, I mean, they've actually came up with the individual mandate back in the early 90s. And then Obama kind of adopted it with his healthcare bill and Obamacare, you know?
Yeah, I think that wasn't that some type of compromise or something. Like I thought it was a compromise he did with the Republicans. I'll check that later, but
compromise. I mean, I don't recall anything of the Republicans wanting an individual mandate. I mean, I do know for certain that they were pushing for it in the early 90s, but nothing about them wanting to push for it in like the late 2000s or early 2010s. I mean, actually, you might be thinking about how the Republicans were trying to compromise with the Democrats to at least get rid of the individual mandate.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because back in late 2013, they tried to like vote against the cloture bill, which was like the first bit of spending that would go into Obamacare. And then because I can't remember the exact story. I mean, there was a government shutdown over the Obamacare bill. I mean, I actually remember it to this very day. Like it was, October of 2013. They were fighting over Obamacare. The government got shut down for about a week or two or something like that. And the world did not end, everybody. We can't survive a government shutdown for, geez.
The most recent one happened this year, and we did just fine. It happened like less than a few days, and we survived.
Yep, and I think what the Republicans were doing is that they were trying to like get some kind of compromise, at least repeal this part of Obamacare, and we will help you to fund back to open back up the government. But the Democrats were saying no to every single compromise. Fully fund Obamacare.
No.
Yeah. Fully fund Obamacare, or else the government is staying shut down.
Yeah.
And the Republicans are just getting easier and easier and like giving more and more to the Democrats regarding their compromise. To one point that they were saying, okay, at least can you get rid of the individual mandate? No, said the Republican or Democrats.
Yeah, to me, I think that, I always found the mandate to be bullshit. I don't know. Like I think I might actually just do an entire video explaining my thoughts on Obamacare. But the thing that pissed me off was the mandate on it. That was bullshit. You there, Zach? I don't know if he left or some shit. Anyway, I don't know if Zach is still there or not, but well, it's just yours truly here, as the dark conservatarian had to dip out really quickly. Anyhow, and he's back.
Yeah, you said that you were going to like make a video about your stances on healthcare.
Yeah, talking about healthcare. I'll try and quickly sum up my 2 cents on Obamacare itself, and talk about like the type of healthcare I want. I mean, it's pretty obvious for those who
you're going to get Cult of Ham hating you for all of eternity.
Yep, and that little bastard can get chucked off of a rooftop in the Middle East for all I care. If Owen says shit to me about it on Twitter, then he can just eat fried chicken and watermelon for all I care. Anyway, Okay. Savage roasts aside of my bigotry. Both sides, however, are mistaken in believing that market forces are responsible for high drug prices. The market for prescription drugs is not free. Indeed, as we will discuss in this report, federal laws and regulations that distort the market and create barriers to competition are the primary drivers of high drug prices. Understand?
Yeah, I think there was some bill like earlier this year, or maybe it was last year, that the Senate was voting on to try and free up the market for like us to do business with Canada, or pharmaceutical companies within the United States to like do business with Canadian companies to like free up the flow of prescription drugs between the two countries, or something like that. Make it less regulated. I mean, it's probably more complicated than how I'm explaining it, but that was what I roughly remember it being.
Yeah.
You there, Osman? Okay.
Yeah. All right. Understanding pharmaceutical prices, net versus list. The problem of high drug prices is complex indeed. Some take advantage of the complexity to argue that high prices, are in fact not a concern. Pharmaceutical companies argue that critics of their high pricing practices do not take into account the difference between list and pricing, and that on a net basis, pharmaceutical pricing is not a policy problem.
That on a net basis, pharmaceutical pricing is not a policy problem. Yeah, I'm trying to like digest that myself, but I do not see of why pharmaceutical companies would be trying to say that it is not a that the pricing is not a policy problem. I don't know, maybe so that they can try and stay cozy with the politicians or something. I don't know. It is true that the prices that manufacturers publicly list do not represent the true cost that consumers pay. Those list prices are often referred to as the wholesale acquisition cost, or WAC. However, large distributors often acquire drugs at a discount in exchange for prompt payment and or bulk purchasing. Hence, according to Quintile's IMS, the average invoice price for a branded drug is 16% less than the list price. The average invoice price for a generic drug is 45% below the list price. Furthermore, manufacturers frequently offer rebates to insurers in order to persuade insurers to pay for costly drugs, especially when cheaper generic alternatives are available. Frequently, insurers contract with pharmacy benefit managers, PBMs, to negotiate these rebates. In the commercial insurance market, PBMs retain a portion of these rebates as revenue. Insurers retain a portion, and the remainder is passed on to consumers in the form of premiums that are lower on net than they would be under list or invoice pricing.
Yeah.
Try wrapping your head around that. I mean, I'm not an economist, and neither are you, and so...
Yeah. Drug companies often offer to subsidize the copays and other out-of-pocket expenses that consumers pay in order to encourage higher utilization of their products. However, because higher utilization is passed on to consumers in the form of higher premiums, these practices do not necessarily result in lower health care costs for patients in the aggregate. And I remember I was watching this video talking about the end of Obama's presidency. And man, that dude, even though he tries to be neutral with his videos, like about like when presidents are leaving office, he said that Obamacare didn't stop higher healthcare costs and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really see that. Who was it? Have you ever heard of the YouTube channel called Mr. Beat? I'll link you the video where he mentions that very briefly. I'll link you.
Mr. Beat. I thought you were about to say Mr. Repsion for a second there.
Nah. Okay. I'll link you the video. It's like a very brief mention of it. He doesn't like talk about, like he was mentioning it like in the context of Obama's the leaving president. He's the outgoing president, and he's talking about the election itself. But he mentions that very briefly, and I thought it was a pretty interesting thing he mentioned. But yeah, that is He also does like a lot of videos on history and other things he finds interesting. Pretty interesting YouTube channel. I'd recommend people check it out if they want. Conservatarian Coyote says in the chat, I heard pineapple makes your semen taste better.
Yeah, I just saw it.
Jesus.
I read that and I thought it was gross.
Oh, fuck.
Both in the I guess he's trying to argue for pineapple pizza or something like that.
Oh, fuck. Or at least
great pineapple pizza debates.
Yes. Then Brandon says, "Yay, I love Cuck Force."
I'm not so sure what he means by cuck force. I think he's referring to the UK police force when I was reading about the Tommy Robinson arrest.
Yeah. That's fucking awesome. Anyway,
For
right.
branded drugs, according to Quintel's IMS, net prices that include these rebates to payers, weird way of saying payers, of spelling payers, and patients are 33% lower on average than invoice prices. For generic drugs, net prices are 30% lower on average. Pharmaceutical companies argue that net pricing is the appropriate figure for policymakers to follow. But because distributors, PBMs, and insurers retain a fraction of the difference between list and net prices, and because copay assistance leads to higher premiums, the prices that consumers pay in the form of insurance premiums, out-of-pocket payments, and taxpayer-funded subsidies is higher than the net price. So it seems like people are getting scammed out of this.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I mean, I cannot like break that down exactly, but it just seems like, in layman's terms, people are getting scammed. Still, if we assume that 2/3 of the difference between net and list prices is passed on to customers, then U.S. spending on drugs in 2014 was $1,150 per capita, lower than with invoice or list prices, but still far higher than the OECD average, figure 3, and growth in drug spending on a net price basis closely tracks invoice spending growth. Understanding pharmaceutical prices, brand versus generic. The high prices of branded, patented prescription drugs attract a justifiable amount of attention in the United States. But it is important to note that the U.S. leads the world in the utilization of inexpensive
Zach, you're frozen. Shit. You there? I cannot hear you.
Okay.
Okay, now I can.
Back.
Okay.
You know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna have a more of a miserable time with my internet connection here, trying to get through any more of this article. Barely comprehending it, but
yeah,
I'll have to like take my time in reading further into this article, which I do not know when exactly I'll get to that because I'm not exactly the strongest reader, but.
Oh,
anyways.
no worries. I used to have that problem a lot. I read quite a bit, so the only thing I have to worry about is a stutter problem, and I just force myself to read complicated poetry, and usually that can help me.
Send me that video that you were talking about from Mr. Beat through Twitter DMs.
You got it. Let me go back and get that link. Yeah, trust me, it's a very interesting series. It took me like 2 weeks to watch all the episodes, but they're like rather short, so they're just short and sweet. But yeah, I'm gonna have it drop into your DMs like a nuclear bomb on Hiroshima. Let me get your. Where is your Twitter DMs? Where the hell? Anyway, so how have you been? Oh shit, he left. Oh, you're back. All right. Sent you the link in Twitter DMs. It's really interesting.
I was frozen again.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I sent you.
Internet keeps on going in and out. So I think I'm going to wrap it up.
All right, but
what
thanks for having me on.
To my small audience.
Hopefully your audience doesn't stay small for long. You're at almost 250,000 subs. I'm almost at 500,000. So we're getting somewhere, Zach. It's awesome to see your channel went from 30 subs when I found you to now almost a quarter of 1,000. And thank you for having me on as always.
Yep, you're welcome. And by the way, you remember the Hangout stream with Voltaire at 6:30 this evening, right? I know that sounds painful to you, but you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I can make it, but if I can't, I'm gonna let you know. But I'm gonna go continue watching that, and then I'll take some notes of what I want to say, and that'll be where we'll really get into that. So see you, Dark Khan, and tell Blair I said hi.
All right. My internet cut out again when you were in the middle of speaking, so I'm just going to end it right here. So thank you all who have watched Strike Force. The best part, in my opinion, was when we were responding to Cardinal Burke, the retard who doesn't understand freedom of religion. But anyway, that's all that I have. Thank you for watching, and see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.